Coyote and Kami Adigbite were the picture of success. Their names were synonymous with wealth, hard work, and ambition in Lagos society. Coyote had built one of the most successful construction firms in Nigeria, with his projects dotting the Lagos skyline as symbols of his genius. Kami, on the other hand, was a celebrated fashion designer, her label sought after by elite clients across the country and beyond. Their mansion in Victoria Island was a testament to their achievements. Tall glass windows reflecting the afternoon sun, sprawling gardens with exotic flowers, and rooms decorated in tasteful luxury. To outsiders, the Adigbites seemed to have it all: a perfect marriage, immense wealth, and a love that inspired envy. But within the grandeur of their lives was a silent, growing void. 5 years had passed since their wedding, and the cries of a child had yet to fill their home. For Kami, the absence of a child felt like a personal failure, a hollow space that no amount of wealth or success could fill. At first, Kami dismissed their childlessness as a matter of timing. "We'll have a child when the time is right," she told herself. But as the years passed, the pressure mounted, especially from family and friends. "Kami, you're not getting younger," her mother would remind her during phone calls. "When will we hear the cry of a baby in your home?" Kami often brushed off the comments with forced smiles, but inside, her heart ached. Family gatherings became unbearable, with distant relatives throwing unsolicited advice her way. "Have you tried herbal remedies? There's this woman in Osogbo who's helped many women conceive," one aunt said during Christmas dinner. The whispers extended beyond family. Kami overheard colleagues speculating that her career had taken precedence over starting a family. "She's probably too busy to even think about children," one had said, oblivious to the pain their words caused. At night, Kami lay awake beside Coyote, staring at the ceiling. Her mind raced with questions. Was something wrong with her? Had she waited too long? Coyote, sensing her distress, often pulled her close, whispering reassurances into her ear. "Kami," he'd say, "you're perfect. I love you, and that will never change." But Kami couldn't silence the voice in her head that told her otherwise. Determined to find answers, Kami threw herself into the search for a solution. She and Coyote visited fertility clinics, underwent countless tests, and consulted traditional healers. Doctors assured them there was no medical reason for their infertility, but every negative result chipped away at Kami's hope. "Maybe God is testing us," Coyote said one evening after another round of tests. "We just need to keep praying." The couple turned to their faith, attending church services, vigils, and prayer sessions. Kami fasted for days, pouring her heart into every prayer. She spent nights on her knees in their bedroom, begging God for a miracle. On their 6th wedding anniversary, Kami's despair reached its peak. "I don't want to celebrate," she told Coyote as they sat at the breakfast table. "What's the point?" "Kami," Coyote said gently, "we have so much to be grateful for." She looked at him, her eyes filled with tears. "But what's the use of all this if I can't give you a child?" A week later, Kami began feeling unwell. At first, she thought it was stress, the weight of years of longing and disappointment. But as the days went on, her symptoms worsened. Nausea, dizziness, and an overwhelming fatigue left her unable to function. "Kami, this isn't just stress," Coyote insisted. "We're going to the doctor." Reluctantly, Kami agreed, bracing herself for yet another disappointment. But this time was different. The doctor's smile was warm as he read the test results. "Mrs. Adigbite," he said, "congratulations, you're pregnant." The words hung in the air for a moment, almost too good to be true. Kami's eyes filled with tears, her hands trembling. She turned to Coyote, who was grinning from ear to ear. we're going to be parents," he whispered, pulling her into his arms. The news breathed new life into their marriage. Coyote became a doting husband, ensuring Kimmy had everything she needed. He hired extra staff to take care of the house and forbade Kimmy from lifting a finger. Their home, once filled with quiet longing, now buzzed with excitement as they prepared for the arrival of their baby. On a cool evening in December, Kimmy gave birth to a healthy baby girl. They named her Tani, meaning eternal wealth. From the moment they held her, they knew their lives would never be the same. Tani was a beautiful baby with soft curls and eyes that seemed to hold an ancient wisdom. Kimmy and Coyote doted on her, their hearts swelling with a love they had never known. For the first time in years, their home felt complete. Friends and family came to celebrate her arrival, bringing gifts and blessings. Among the visitors was Ajoke, one of Kimmy's closest friends. Ajoke had been a source of support during Kimmy's years of waiting, always offering words of encouragement. Ajoke approached the crib with a small, ornately wrapped box. "For your princess," she said, her smile warm and inviting. Inside was a gold necklace, its design intricate and mesmerizing. Kimmy gasped, "Ajoke, this is too much." "Nothing is too much for Tani," Ajoke replied, her tone firm. Kimmy immediately placed the necklace around Talani's neck. The baby cooed, unaware of the dark force that had just been invited into her life. Unseen by everyone except Ajoke, a shadowy figure appeared beside the crib, a giant python with glowing red eyes. It coiled protectively around Tani, binding itself to the child. That night, Kimmy had a vivid dream. She saw the python coiled around Tani's crib, its gaze fixed on her. She woke up in a cold sweat, but dismissed the dream as a product of exhaustion. Before diving into the rest of the story, I'd like to humbly ask for your support. By subscribing to my channel, you're not just helping me grow, but also boosting my visibility on YouTube through its algorithm. Your support means the world to me, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you. Now, let's get back to the story. For 2 years, Kimmy devoted herself entirely to being a mother. She cherished every milestone, from Talani's first smile to her first steps. But as Tani grew older, Kimmy began to feel the pull of her career. Her fashion brand had taken a back seat, and she longed to return to the world she had built with so much passion. Finding the right nanny became a priority. Once again, Kimmy turned to Ajoke for advice. "Do you know anyone trustworthy?" she asked. Ajoke's recommendation was swift. "There's a girl named Lola. She's excellent with children, patient, kind, and attentive. You won't regret hiring her." Lola arrived the following week. She was young, cheerful, and seemed to have an innate ability to connect with Tani. Within weeks, Kimmy felt confident enough to leave her daughter in Lola's care and return to work. Lola quickly became an integral part of the Addigbite household. She was always cheerful, efficient, and remarkably attentive to Tani's needs. Kimmy and Coyote were relieved to have found someone they trusted, allowing them to focus on their demanding careers. Under Lola's care, Tani seemed content, spending her days playing games, reading storybooks, and giggling as Lola braided her hair. But despite her outward happiness, subtle changes began to emerge. Tani, once a talkative and bubbly child, grew quieter. She spent long periods alone in her room, staring at the walls or whispering to herself. When Kimmy asked her about it, Tani shrugged. "I'm just talking to my friends," she said. "Which friends?" Kimmy asked, puzzled. Tani looked up at her with wide eyes. "The ones who visit me in my room." Kimmy brushed it off as childhood imagination, but the comment stayed with her. On Tani's 10th birthday, Kimmy and Coyote threw a lavish party to celebrate their daughter. The mansion was filled with balloons, laughter, and the excited chatter of children. Tani seemed overjoyed, running from one game to another, her golden necklace catching the sunlight. That night, after the festivities had ended and the guests had left, Tani woke up screaming. Her cries echoed through the mansion, startling Kimmy and Coyote awake. "There's something in my room," Tani sobbed, running into their bedroom. "It was watching me." Coyote hugged her tightly, trying to calm her down. "It's just a bad dream," he said. "There's nothing to be afraid of." But Tani insisted, her voice trembling. "It's real, Daddy. It said my gift is ready." "The necklace," Kimmy thought, her heart sinking. She shook the thought away, reminding herself that it was just a piece of jewelry. The nightmares became more frequent. Every night, Tolani woke up drenched in sweat, her cries piercing the quiet of the house. She described shadowy figures standing in the corners of her room, their voices whispering unintelligible words. Kimmy and Coyote took turns comforting her, but exhaustion soon caught up with them. One night, when Tolani screamed again, Lola appeared by her side almost instantly. "You mustn't disturb your parents," she said softly. "Come, I'll help you." From that point on, Tolani stopped going to her parents for comfort. Instead, she turned to Lola, who seemed to know exactly how to soothe her fears. In the weeks that followed, Tolani's behavior grew stranger. She began talking to herself more frequently, her conversations animated as though she were addressing someone in the room. When Kimmy asked her about it, Tolani responded with a giggle. "They're my special friends." Tolani's drawings, once filled with bright colors and cheerful scenes, turned dark and unsettling. She began sketching serpents with glowing eyes and shadowy figures that loomed over tiny houses. When Kimmy asked her about the drawings, Tolani shrugged. "It's just what I see." At school, Tolani's teacher, Mrs. Carroll, noticed her odd behavior. Tolani often sat alone during recess, muttering to herself or staring into the distance. Her classmates began avoiding her, whispering that she was weird. Mrs. Carroll sent multiple notes home, expressing her concerns, but Kimmy and Coyote, overwhelmed by work, dismissed them. One afternoon, during a spelling quiz, Tolani became the target of teasing. A boy named Dele laughed at her when she misspelled a word. "You're supposed to be smart," he sneered. Tolani's face darkened. Her golden necklace glowed faintly, and she clenched her fists. A moment later, Dele let out a yelp, clutching his stomach as he doubled over in pain. He began screaming, his body convulsing on the floor. The classroom descended into chaos as teachers rushed to help Dele. Tolani sat quietly at her desk, her expression unreadable. When Mrs. Carroll asked her what had happened, Tolani replied, "He shouldn't have been mean to me." News of the incident reached Kimmy and Coyote later that evening. The school principal called them in for an emergency meeting, but with their demanding schedules, they sent Lola in their place, trusting her to handle the situation. At home, Kimmy began to notice other strange occurrences. Objects moved on their own, lights flickered, and an unnatural coldness seemed to settle over the house. The once warm and welcoming mansion now felt oppressive, as though something unseen was watching them. Kimmy confided in Coyote one evening. "Have you noticed how different Tolani has been lately?" she asked, her voice tinged with worry. Coyote nodded, his brow furrowed. "I've been thinking the same thing, and it's not just her, it's the house. Something feels wrong." They decided to investigate further, starting with Tolani's necklace. Kimmy reached out to Ajoke, hoping to learn more about its origins. Ajoke's behavior during their conversation only deepened Kimmy's suspicions. When Kimmy asked where the necklace had come from, Ajoke laughed nervously. "It's just a gift," she said, avoiding eye contact. Kimmy pressed further. "A joke, please. If there's something I need to know, tell me." Ajoke's expression darkened. You're imagining things, Kimmy. Stop worrying about superstitions. Unconvinced, Kimmy shared her fears with Coyote. Together, they decided to return to church, seeking guidance from their pastor. During a Sunday service, Tani began to act strangely. Her body stiffened, and her eyes rolled back into her head. She let out an unearthly scream that echoed through the sanctuary. Suddenly, a giant python materialized, coiling around her body as the congregation gasped in terror. The pastor sprang into action, leading the church in fervent prayer. "This is the work of darkness," he shouted. "We must drive it out in the name of Jesus." The python hissed and tightened its grip on Tani, its eyes glowing red. Tani screamed, her voice mingling with the pastor's prayers. The golden necklace around her neck shattered, and the python let out a deafening roar before vanishing into a cloud of smoke. Tani collapsed to the floor, her body limp but finally free. In the weeks that followed, Tani returned to her old self, a bright, cheerful child who filled the house with laughter. Kimmy and Coyote, now wiser and more cautious, made drastic changes to their lives. They prioritized their family over their careers, spending more time together and deepening their faith. Ajoke and Lola disappeared without a trace, their sinister intentions left unexplained. The pastor warned the Adagbites to remain vigilant, reminding them of the dangers that often lurked behind seemingly innocent gifts. Though their lives had been forever changed, the Adagbites found solace in their renewed bond as a family. Tani, their miracle child, had been saved, and they vowed never to take her presence for granted again. This story reminds us that not all that glitters is gold, and not every gift is a blessing. Sometimes, evil comes wrapped in beauty, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In life, we must remain vigilant, cherish our loved ones, and never let material possessions cloud our judgment. Prioritize what truly matters: faith, family, and love. If this story moved you, inspired you, imagine the incredible stories we'll share next. Please subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, like, and drop a comment for me. Your support makes it possible to keep these stories alive, so don't miss out.